Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Crypto Club. We are here with Gons, as always, and we're going to be running things a little bit differently this week. Let us know what you think about this episode compared to the previous ones down in the comments below. So, quite the crazy week in crypto. If you've been paying attention whatsoever, I'm sure you've seen some of the chaos that's recently happened. So let's just dig right into it here with our first story, talking about the consumer prices rising 0.4% in October, which was quite a bit less than expected. That led to quite a bullish rally in markets broadly, specifically stocks, as crypto has faced some severe headwinds this week. So expectations were at around 7.9%. We came in at 7.7%. So, really the first decline in quite a long time, something that the Fed has been looking for but is yet to see. So, if we can keep that decline in inflation up, I think it could be a very good turning point in markets. Taking a look at the crypto charts here, we've got Bitcoin pulled up. And, despite the really good CPI numbers, I guess relatively good, having 7.7% inflation in any instance is not great. But for the situation we're in, it's definitely some lighter news than we've been having. But you can see Bitcoin is actually down to 16,745 right now, and it dumped all the way down to just under 16,000, about 15,700 range. And that's because one of the big players, FTX, is facing some serious issues. We will dig into that deeper here in a little bit. I'm sure most of you have heard about that. But yeah, Bitcoin really not looking great. It's unfortunate to see, considering that the NASDAQ had a over 7% rally yesterday, which is absolutely massive for these major U.S. indexes, up about 0.5% today, kind of forming a possible double bottom here around the 10,700 level. We'll see if this can continue and possibly break this trend. But yeah, if we see consumer price increases start to continuously decline, I think that would be very good for the markets. We also have the DXY falling out of this upwards channel that it had been stuck in for quite some time. So that's generally good for the crypto markets, although this FTX debacle has set us back quite a bit.
Massively. I mean, right now, stock bros are very happy. It's a good time to, be a stock investor. Crypto, on the other hand, like you mentioned, we had a reversal thanks to the CPI. And quite frankly, if we hadn't had the situation with FTX and Alameda and Sam Bankman-Fried, we would probably be seeing Bitcoin and Ethereum, doing really well right now, because that was the first month in a while that we've seen inflation kind of slow down. So that was huge news. And it goes to show you that, unfortunately, Bitcoin and crypto is so new still, so early, that, one issue with a major player in the space can cause massive FUD and losses.
Right. Yeah, FTX is the second largest exchange, I want to say. So, they really are a massive, massive player in Sam Bankman-Fried's trading firm. Alameda, I want to say, is the biggest market maker in all
It
of
is,
crypto.
yes. Yep.
So, yeah, definitely some, key players with tons of leverage really hurting the space at the moment. Unfortunately, we'll just take a look at a few other charts here. We've got Matic, which the volatility picked up on extremely heavily during the whole FTX incident. We've got, we'll look at the USD chart here. So Matic fell from 1.28 all the way down to, 75 cents, and then rebounded extremely quickly up to $1.15. And it looks like it almost perfectly bounced off this 200-day MA, which tends to be a good indicator. So, if you're paying attention, there's lots of opportunities amongst all of this volatility. I don't think anyone expected FTX to be in the position they're in, along with Alameda. But I guess to kind of dig more into that, we'll go on to where it all started. So looking at this tweet from CZ Binance, as part of Binance's exit from FTX last year, Binance received roughly 2.1 billion USD equivalent in cash, BUSD, and FTT Due to recent revelations that have come to light, we have decided to liquidate any remaining FTT on our books. Now, while CZ does not go into precise detail of what revelations he is referring to here, roughly a week or so prior to this, Alameda's balance sheet was leaked, and I believe CoinDesk were the ones to report on that. And for
It was bad.
yeah,
It was very bad. I mean, Alameda's balance sheet consisted of them claiming $14 billion in assets, of which more than 60% were Sam Bankman-Fried tokens, which were FTT and Solana, and various degrees of, unlocked tokens, staked tokens, and vested tokens. Right? And the problem is all these tokens were Sam Bankman-Fried's, so he couldn't ethically sell them all. And to make matters worse, FTT's market cap was 3 billion at the time of the leak, and they were holding almost 7 billion, on that balance sheet. So you're talking about a company that's claiming they have $14 billion in assets, but in reality, 80 to 90% of it is illiquid.
right. Yeah, to make matters worse, they were lending out the FTT for cash, essentially printing their own money, based off of their own token, which is never a good idea, because you get in these situations where you are just illiquid, and you are pumping your valuation to absurd amounts, and really you're just putting customers at risk, which is unfortunately what we are seeing here. So just kind of reading some more of Binance or CZ's tweet here. So he says, we will try to do so in a way that minimizes market impact due to market conditions and limited liquidity. We expect this will take a few months to complete. Binance always encourages collaboration between industry players. Regarding any speculation as to whether this is a move against a competitor, it is not. Our industry is in its nascency, and every time a project publicly fails, it hurts every user and every platform. We typically hold tokens for long term, and we have held on this token for so long, we stay transparent with our actions. This public statement here is, I think, pretty well thought out. The crazy thing is, he's saying here that it's going to take months for them to liquidate their FTT holdings because of market volatility and liquidity issues. But, as soon as this tweet came out, FTT dropped quite a bit.
I think it was like 33% that day.
Yeah, he's just like fudding his own bags, as they say. What day was that? November 6th. Yep, November 6th. See, it dropped from 25 down to about 21. And you can see where we're at now as the story unfolds, sitting 90% down from there at 2.34. We'll get on to SBF's tweets. So SBF, also known as Sam Bankman-Fried, is the founder and CEO of FTX and also the founder of Alameda, although I believe he is not the acting CEO there. He says, "Hey all, I have a few announcements to make. Things have come full circle, and FTX.com's first and last investors are the same. We have come to an agreement on a strategic transaction with Binance for FTX.com. So when this news first broke, this was crazy for crypto. Everyone was talking about it. I remember Gons told me, and you heard my reaction, Gons. I was like, what? I seriously could not believe it.
It was weird. The market had like a delayed reaction. So as soon as that news broke, it was like CZ saving us. The market pumped. Like it was
Right.
crazy. And then the delayed reaction occurred, and everybody's like, wait, CZ is going to own the whole space. It's not decentralization.
Yeah.
And so then it started going back down, the whole market. And luckily, as it later plays out, CZ ends up backing out of the deal because after looking at, Alameda and FTX's books, he's like, whoa, this is a mess. I mean, who knows what he saw there, but I guarantee you it was over leveraged mess.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah, so he backed out, and ultimately, I mean, nobody really knows what's going to happen still. Things are developing. As far as we know, FTX has filed bankruptcy as of today. Well, technically, actually, here's the funny part. If you want to pull up the last tweet, but as of yesterday, they filed bankruptcy the same day that they tweeted that FTX was FTX.US was 100% liquid. And then you see on the bankruptcy filing, he signed that yesterday. So I mean, just a huge mess. I truly think that Sam is going to get jail time.
Yeah. So here's the tweet right here. So SBF is saying this was about FTX International, FTX US, the US based exchange that accepts Americans, was not financially impacted by this shit show. It is 100% liquid. Every user could fully withdraw. Updates on its future coming. Now it has filed for bankruptcy. Chapter 11, I believe.
Yep, it's crazy. I mean, there's so many tweets from the CEO of Alameda, Carolyn,
Mm-hmm.
and Sam Bankman-Fried that have been deleted because it was, I mean, it was a mess. Like these guys were telling people like this is just FUD. We have the money, no worries, blah blah blah. And then, that same day or the next day, it's like, nope, that wasn't the case at all. So, I mean, there's no way they get away with this level of fraud. Yeah.
Of course not. Same Bankman fraud. Um, some crazy moves. I don't think anyone expected this from FTX. Just looking, I do want to take a look at the BNB chart here because the volatility on this was crazy when CZ tweeted. So you can see the moment right here where CZ tweeted, BNB pumped almost 25%, probably about 20% from 327 up to just almost touching 400.
Yep.
Then, in the following 3 hours, dumped all the way back to 299. So, it was very short lived euphoria. And we're sitting even lower now at 283. So, it's just crazy how much a tweet can move the market. About a year ago, we used to see Elon move the market a lot, specifically with Dogecoin, but also with him talking about Tesla taking payments in Bitcoin, etc. Definitely very influential in the crypto markets. But now, the Twitter accounts of SBF and Binance and Vitalik tend to have quite the pull on the crypto markets. And a lot of that is due to just how relatively small the markets are. Like I want to say yesterday after that CPI data, there's 1.7 trillion in US dollars that were pushed into the stock market, so an inflow of 1.7 trillion. Meanwhile, crypto has just fallen back under 1 trillion as a total market cap. So US stocks getting a inflow of 1.7 trillion in one day versus crypto's entire market cap not even reaching 1 trillion. So definitely a lot easier to move, far more volatile, but also just less mature as an industry. So that kind of wraps up this whole FTX story. Many things are still developing. I'm sure we will touch on this again in our next episode, provide some updates here. Long story short, don't keep your crypto on exchanges. There's going to be a lot of projects and likely some other companies that are affected by this situation as FTX and Alameda become insolvent. Off the top of my head, a pretty popular DeFi project, BlockFi, they issued a statement saying that they are limiting their functionalities as the FTX situation has taken a big toll on their reserves and funds as a project. I want to say Voyager had some assets on FTX and they're going to have some issues here. And yeah, so many companies are exposed to FTX within the space. This is really not good.
Nope, it's massive. And, we always preach it here from the CoinScan team. Please, please, please be responsible for your own money. Take action, buy a cold storage wallet, and do yourself that favor. Let this be another lesson in the books on why you should not trust anybody in crypto.
100%. It's very unregulated. Things like this, I'm sure eventually will get ironed out. But we've just seen right here a company printing their own monopoly money, lending that out. A 3 or 5 billion market cap, whatever the FTT token had, is absurd. And it is crazy how much FTX and Alameda owned of their own token. They could have essentially rugged it if they wanted to, just off of how much supply they had.
Easily. They had more than the actual market cap. Like you
Yeah,
said, the fully diluted market cap was like 5 billion, which even then they still own more than that.
yeah, And while they could have rugged it, they weren't the ones that rugged it. However, this chart looks pretty rugged just because of all of these developments coming to light. People are obviously rushing to get out of FTT, going from 25.7 down to 2.3 in a week. Not great. And of course, our hearts go out to anyone that is affected by this situation. It's just a example of why you should always self-custody your crypto, keep it in your own wallet, keep it off of exchanges. There's a lot of rumors floating around about other exchanges at the moment. Really, the only way to be safe is to keep your crypto in your own wallet, and we will see how these things progress. So while this story has been headlining crypto this week, there are some things happening on the side. And right here, we actually have quite an interesting tweet from Mike Alfred. So he is saying, amidst all the commotion around FTX, most people have missed this bombshell Reuters article exposing Binance's actions in helping Iranian firms trade $8 billion despite sanctions. This is the news that CZ hopes you won't read. So these allegations, I want to say, are dating all the way back to 2018 or 2019. So crypto giant Binance has processed Iranian transactions with a value of $8 billion since 2018, despite U.S. sanctions intended to cut Iran off from the global financial system. Blockchain data shows almost all the funds, some $7.8 billion, flowed between Binance and Iran's largest crypto exchange, Nobitex, according to a review of data from leading U.S. blockchain researcher Chain Analysis. Nobitex offers guidance on its website on how to skirt sanctions. 3/4 of Iranian funds that passed through Binance were in a relatively low-profile cryptocurrency called Tron that gives users an option to conceal their identities. In a blog post last year, Nobitex encouraged clients to use Tron, a mid-tier token, to trade anonymously without endangering assets due to sanctions. The scale of Binance's Iranian crypto flows and the fact that they are continuing has not previously been reported. The new findings come as U.S. Justice Department is pursuing an investigation into possible violations of money laundering rules by Binance, which dominates the $1 trillion crypto industry with over 120 million users. The transactions put the company at risk of falling afoul of U.S. prohibitions on doing business with Iran, lawyers and trade sanctions experts said. I think it sounds like some pretty hard evidence here. I know that Chain Analysis is a extremely reputable blockchain analysis company. They are very good at what they do. But at the same time, Tron being a privacy coin, supposed to hide the data of the user that sends it. I'm really not sure how they're analyzing that came from Iran, other than, I guess, it passing through the Nobitex exchange. I think that's certainly not good that Nobitex offers guidance on its website on how to skirt sanctions. We just check. Oh, all right. Well, I clicked on the Nobitex website. It's all in Iranian. Anywho, yeah, I think this could be quite the big story. Morally questionable for sure. Although, if it plays out and the U.S. finds Binance guilty, I doubt that they would ever, force them to halt business. I imagine it would just be some fees that Binance has to pay, as these things always go with large players. It is very rare that, any of the key players actually get, physical consequences aside from just paying fees.
Yeah, it'll just be a fine for sure.
Yeah, the government loves to suck the funds out of these big players. But these are some real serious allegations. Sanctions are put in place for a reason. And I think it's interesting because I want to say Binance originally took the standing that they would not sanction Russia with their exchange, but I also want to say that they actually turned on that and have sanctioned Russia from their exchange, although the users are still able to withdraw funds they already had. Yep, that kind of wraps up this story. We'll see how this gains traction in the following weeks, whether it gets drowned out by the current happenings in crypto or whether this gets some more publicity, as well as some of the developments from the U.S. looking into Binance. Also, just touching on this briefly, this week on the Up Only podcast, they had a insane podcast where Kwon, Martin Shkreli, and some other very infamous people in the crypto space joined in. It was quite funny. Martin Shkreli actually went to, I believe it was prison for securities fraud. He got out. He was in the podcast and he was telling Do Kwon that prison's not all that bad and Do Kwon shouldn't be worried. And they were all laughing about it. So definitely something entertaining to listen to right here on the Up Only podcast. And then of course we've got Elon's new Twitter verification. You just pay $8, get verified. A lot of accounts have lost their original verification check mark. Plenty of people seem to be upset about that. But I think Elon is just trying and testing out new things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. I think people are getting a little bit too emotional about the whole thing. Maybe original verification will come back. Maybe the $8 a month will disappear. He's really just testing some new things. And
Nah, Elon wants his $8, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But, I think really he's just, testing things and nothing is here to stay as of yet.
Nope. As we've always said with Elon, expect the unexpected.
Correct.
And Twitter has been wild lately. So there's definitely a lot of entertainment and, crazy stuff happening on Twitter right now.
That there is. And yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's Crypto Club. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments. Trying to speed things up a little bit. Make it nice, short, and sweet. As always, this is the CoinScan team coming at you. Make sure you check out our socials and website in the description. We are always doing everything we can to provide the most transparent platform for people to analyze crypto tokens on, to make sure that you are trading to your best capabilities with all of the information we can possibly give you. And we will see you next week.